Hey guys, Robert Maxwell with the Man Factory, and this is going to be a sort of a different style of video than what I usually do. Usually I'm sharing knowledge and experience that I have with you in some form to do with physical training, strength, and fitness. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you an experience I had recently involving me getting educated by a friend of mine, a powerlifter who I've written about before on manfactorytraining.com, Malcolm Noland. Now, I think that in order to be a true authority and a true source of wisdom and knowledge on any topic, a person has to always be willing to continue learning themselves. And I certainly try to make that true of myself when it comes to strength, fitness, and lifting. So recently, I had this injury develop over a period of weeks in my left shoulder. The pain was centered around my AC joint, and it seemed to be worse whenever I performed the bench press. Now, I've been bench pressing the same way for a number of years, bringing the bar down to my nipple height or so, and then pressing it up so that it's in vertical alignment and balance with my shoulder joint. And I haven't had problems up until now, but Malcolm figured that my bench press form and technique was the reason for this injury, this pain I've been having in my shoulder. So I went over to his gym recently and got his advice on the whole situation. And basically, he recommended that I completely change the way that I bench press. And he suggested several technique changes that were so radical that I was doubtful at first. But now, after spending that session with him, I'm willing to give these things a try and see where it takes me. So in this video, I'm going to give you a quick glimpse of my session with Malcolm and show you the recommendations he made to me for overhauling my bench press. One of the first things Malcolm got me to do was some fairly intensive upper body stretching, starting with this chest stretch using the side of the squat rack. One of the things we figured out fairly early on was that my pectoral muscles were very understretched, and that may have been one of the contributing factors to my shoulder injury, since the pecs and the shoulders are all linked, especially during the bench press. So this particular stretch really puts emphasis on the pectoralis minor, which is where I was feeling a lot of tension as I did the stretch. It was quite painful at first, but it was really neat to feel that muscle opening up and mobilizing and becoming more limber as I did this stretch for several repetitions on each side, preparing to do some bench pressing. Even though in general I've always been a pretty big advocate of stretching before workouts myself, and this concept is nothing new to me, I think that my understretched, undermobile pectoral muscles boil down to a fear I have of re-injury. Several years ago I hurt my pec while bench pressing. I strained my pectoralis minor, as a matter of fact, the same area of the muscle that I'm stretching here. And ever since then, I've kind of understretched it and shied away from stretching it fully, which ironically is the opposite to what I should have been doing. This second stretch is called the shoulder dislocation stretch, which is just a tongue-in-cheek name, I hope. And it involves circling the arms with elbows locked from the back to the front, in this case with a resistance band to help me stretch my shoulder joints, mobilize them, and also continue stretching my pectorals from multiple angles here. This doesn't look too difficult, but the fact that it felt quite difficult for me at the time was a strong indication to me that indeed my mobility and my stretch-outableness of these particular muscle groups, the pectorals and the shoulders, really needed help. And that's one reason I came to Malcolm. In addition to his expertise in powerlifting, I've long known that he's a real expert when it comes to mobility work, coming back from injuries, and stretches of all kinds. And that's just the sort of knowledge and wisdom I was hoping to get from him during this time. After a few more stretches, it was time for me to get on the bench. In rebuilding my bench press from the ground up, Malcolm had me start with the absolute basics: where to hold the bar in relation to my body, my elbow position, and where to lock out with the bar. There were quite a lot of differences in the way Malcolm recommended I start bench pressing during this session and the way that I've been bench pressing for all the years that I've been working out, basically. The main differences, though, were that he had me bring the bar way lower down on my chest than I had been, At the top of my abdominal muscles is where he had me touch the bar down, as a matter of fact. Normally I had been doing it, as I said early in the video, around my nipple line or so, maybe a little bit below, but this was a few inches below that, and it felt pretty weird at first. He also had me lock out the bar straight above this touch point, rather than further back in vertical alignment with my shoulder joint, which felt really difficult. I felt I had a bit of a moment arm trying to keep that bar in balance, but he assures me that this gets easier with time and practice using this technique, and when I do grease the groove, so to speak, and practice this way for long enough, my bench press will be a whole lot stronger and, more importantly, safer. I'll be at less risk of straining my shoulders as I flare out my elbows, which has been my problem for a long time, and which is, I'm pretty sure, the cause of the shoulder injury I'm dealing with now.
Is that just go down and try it? I'm gonna have to take your word that you're squeezing your straps together.
Yep. Well, it hurts, so.
And at the bottom, it's just you just want to overemphasize that squeeze because that's where it's the most important. Yep. Try to get a little lower on your belly. Okay. Yes. Even a little bit lower. And when you go and watch this...
After practicing Malcolm's recommended bench press technique with the empty bar for a while, I finished up our session by putting a couple of 25-pound plates on the bar and doing some more reps. I didn't go any heavier than this during our session because, number one, I didn't want to injure myself further, my shoulder, and number two, I just wanted to concentrate on technique and really cementing the movement pattern of this new technique into my brain so that I'd have increased neural efficiency and I'd be able to move forward having really firmed up the technique in my mind and memory. And that's just what happened. Towards the end of this final set here, this bench press technique, which had felt very awkward at first, started to feel more natural.
All looks good.
Yeah. So there you have it. A quick look at my session with my friend, competitive powerlifter Malcolm Noland, on how to stretch and open up various tight muscles that I've been dealing with, and how to perform the bench press in a way that's completely different than what I've been doing, but in a way that he figures will make me a whole lot stronger in the bench and hopefully fix my shoulder injury as well. As I spend more time practicing this new technique and testing it for myself, I'll be able to get back to you with more detail on the results I've had. But for now, I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.